What up, though? Welcome to Tinman Podcast. I'm a little nervous today because I have a guest that's real big, at least in my eyes. He does a lot for the community. He's one of our own, and he represents everybody like in a peaceful way. His name is Jimmy. What?
What's up, Cisco? Jimmy Figueroa.
Eso. Gracias, carnal.
Gracias a
Welcome
ti.
to the show.
Thank you.
And please introduce yourself.
Yeah, first, man, thank you for the opportunity to sit down
course.
with you. Jimmy Figueroa, city council member for the city of Oceanside.
That's big.
Yeah, man, it's still, sometimes when I think about it, it's like it's a trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just born and raised in Oceanside. Parents, I think I shared this with you. Parents
Yeah.
came from Mexico, used to live in Solana Beach, Eden Gardens. When they first got here, then they moved to Oceanside, where I was born and raised. And, I've spent the majority of my life here. And over the past, 20 years, I've had the opportunity to work with youth in our community and start programs, work for programs, manage programs, but mainly working with kids on probation, juvenile probation, in and out of the system, or working in the neighborhoods. And so,
It's crazy when you said that Solana, right, Encinitas, that little
Yeah.
area. Every immigrant back in the day, our generation,
Yeah.
that's where they started,
Yeah, that's where the jobs were.
right?
Yeah.
From Encinitas, Solana, Carlsbad, Oceanside, and out they're in the fields.
Yeah. So my abuelo, he was my mom's family's from Zacatecas,
Okay.
and my abuelo, he was part of the Bracero program.
Okay.
And so he would, come out here for work, and little by little he started bringing, some of my tios or just family over. And my mom's the youngest of 7, and so she was the last to come. So when she got here, the family was pretty much settled in Eden Gardens, right there in La Colonia.
Yeah.
And then my dad was an orphan. My dad's from Guanajuato, and his mom, he knew that his mom was his biological mom was in Tijuana.
Yeah.
And so as a teenager, man, he left Guanajuato, and he was raised by an elderly couple.
Yeah.
And he came by himself, 16, 17, found his mom in Tijuana, established a relationship with her, stayed for a little bit, but he was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to cross over. And as a teenager, he came over, found work in Encinitas, and somehow he got connected to my mom's brothers, my tios. And that's how he ended up meeting my mom. And then, little by little, they started getting established. But my dad, man, he was someone that used to help people cross over, because he was a teenager and he figured that out. And, things were different back in those times.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
El
I mean?
pollero.
Yeah. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
he helped a lot of my mom's family,
Yeah.
come over. And so I'm very thankful for that, man. That's my family's history. And my parents didn't have papers or nothing like that. They got papers the year that I was born.
Yeah.
And that changed, our lives, because they were able to get established and no longer having to live in fear. But I'm very thankful for my abuelo for coming over as a bracero, and then my family coming over undocumented, because essentially provided the life that it allows me to be a city council member in Oceanside, bro. It's a
Imagine
trip.
that,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. So I'm very thankful for my family.
How's that feel, though?
Man, I think about it because when I was going through the process, I've been working in nonprofits for, since I became an adult.
Yeah.
And for many years, maybe the last 15 years, people would tell me man, you should run for office. You should run
Yeah.
for office. And I was like, okay, man, I'll think about it. But right now I'm focused on running this program or working with these youth. And finally, I just knew okay, I told myself in 2020 or in 2024, I'm gonna run. And it was a lot of work to, position myself to get elected, knocking on doors, talking to the residents. But it was scary too, because it was no one in my family, I don't come, that's not something we do. But man, one of the things that was encouraging was one, I ran for a district office, there's 4 districts in Oceanside. I represent District 3, and District 3 is Tri-City. And when my parents left Solana Beach and came to Oceanside, we lived in Center Street for a little bit, when I was first born, but I lived the majority of my life in the Tri-City neighborhood, and most of my family's in Tri-City, and so we're 40, 50 deep in Tri-City,
Yeah.
And so to be able to not only be a city council member for the city I was born and raised in, but to represent the neighborhood that my family has lived in the majority of my life, that to me was the most special thing, because when I first decided to run, people would tell me people that are politicians or people that been involved in stuff like this, they told me hey, we know you love Tri-City, but You can't spend any time there when you're campaigning because that community doesn't vote. And I was like, well, they won't vote for you. You know what I mean?
They won't vote for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm from here. And I said, if I'm not going to be spending any time in Tri-City, why am I even doing this? You know? And so to be able to, one, get that community to feel like they're heard. And I did everything in Tri-City. I launched my campaign in Tri-City. I spent a lot of my time in Tri-City during this process. Because for me, I was like, win or lose, I want to show Tri-City that they have the power and the voice to be heard and also get like their needs met, you know? And so like I just was doing everything I could to highlight the needs in the community and the voices there. And it was encouraging, man, because as I was doing it, whether, you know, someone personally knew me or they were like, oh, I know your tío, you know, or I know your tía, or I know your cousin, like that to me was like the most like precious moment of that. And even now, man, when I run into people that like, they know someone in my family, or just running into people that come from communities, like, you know, like a lot of people from Carlsbad, man, like, you know, that I think that people are just proud. Yeah. And so to me, it's just making sure that I represent, you know, with the legacy of my family and the legacy of the communities where, you know, our communities come from, and doing everything I can just to do right by them, you know.
Like when you campaign and like you start building your structure, your foundation, your direction, your purpose. Like when you're brainstorming, like what do you think of? Like you think about, okay, I'm from this area, this is what I'm trying to target. What voice am I trying to be?
Yeah,
like, who wants to hear me? Like what do you think of?
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. You have limited time, you know, because really it's like a race, but it's a marathon at the same time. Yeah. And like I ran a grassroots campaign, so like meaning I was able to fundraise to support my campaign, but not at the level that my competitor was fundraising at. Like my competitor, my main competitor was receiving money from like just major donors. Yeah. Whereas I was receiving a lot of donations by a lot of people, but it was a lot of like, you know, $5, $10, $20, you know, like.
You're hustling.
Yeah. But I think my main thing was like, okay, like everything I've ever heard in Oceanside is that neighborhoods like Tri-City, the East Side, Mesa, the Deep Valley, the Mid Valley, Center Street, those communities don't vote. That's what they would, that was always like the narrative. Like that's where the majority of our community is. When I say our community, I mean like, you know, like our community, like our Mexican community, our Samoan community, Black community, like a lot of them, that's the neighborhoods. And they would always say, oh, they don't vote. And I was like, okay, like, but why don't they vote? You know what I mean? They don't trust the system. Yeah. And so like, to me, it was very important to knock on doors and spend time talking to people like, hey, like, one, like, what if you can change anything or if you can improve anything in your neighborhood, what would it be? I didn't even say Oceanside. I was like, if you can improve anything in this neighborhood or on your street, what would it be? And, you know, I got to hear what that was. And then, you know, I did that as much as I could and then came back a few months later and was like, hey, like, I'm running for office. These are the things I'm going to prioritize. And my priorities weren't, this is what I want to do. It was based on me knocking on the doors and hearing and them telling me what the things that they wanted to see. So then I was like, okay, like if I'm elected, this is what I'm going to do. And then 3 months later, coming back and saying, hey, this is the day to vote on, and you know, this is where you can vote. You know, but I think some of the big things for me were like in the Tri-City neighborhood in John Landis, like in 2008, they closed down our community center because of the recession. And at that time, that city council decided to close it down at John Landis specifically because they said, oh, well, people that go to that community center are more from Vista than Oceanside. And it's because it's Tri-City. And so the back of John Landis is Vista. Yeah. But everyone who's grown up there, we don't look at it like that. We've always seen it as like, you know, this is just Tri-City. So the community center closed down. And, you know, John Landis has always had like a gang presence. Yeah. But it's never been more than one or two gangs in John Landis, you know, and for the most part, there's structure in that. But after they closed the rec center down, man, you knew it was only a matter of time before the kids growing up in this neighborhood are going to start their own thing, and there's going to be a lot of friction, and that happened, you know. They closed the community center down. The skate park just became a block of cement. Like, it wasn't even a skate park no more. Our basketball courts was bad. The lighting was bad in the neighborhood. We were having, you know, challenges with like, just all kinds of different activity at the park.
How hard was it to get like the people's trust? Like, what did you think of? Like, okay, I gotta get the community with me.
Yeah, I don't. That wasn't part of the campaign like that. I think that the trust you can't.
You can't show up.
Well, you can't build trust. Like, there's no magic pill to building trust. You know, only time can do that, right? Yeah, and you gotta earn your stripes, and you gotta put in work.
Yeah.
And I think me doing 20 years of serving the community, that was building the trust.
That already speaks by itself.
Yeah. So like, had I just like not done that and just tried to run for office, it would have been like anybody else. You know? And I think because I had spent so much time in specifically in the neighborhoods, helping families, whether it's like, you know, bringing food to their homes or picking up their kids, you know, and taking them to court when they had court, or picking up kids from juvenile hall and bringing them home, or just spending time with parents, or, you know, for years. Yeah. You know, and so maybe they didn't know me, but they would say something like, "Oh, you helped my little brother," or not you helped my little brother, but you helped my neighbor, or you helped my little cousin, or somebody. You know, I think it was more of that than anything else, and I think that, you know, that's not something that happens overnight. That's not something that happens in a campaign. No. You know what I mean? That's especially in our neighborhoods, man, because people don't trust the system. They don't trust politics. They don't trust any of it. You know, and a lot of times they just feel like they're used for a campaign, and then when it's over, like they get forgotten about. You know, and being from there, you know, like I can't do that because I got so much family in the neighborhood. That it's like it's not just them. Like they're asking they're asking my family too. Like, hey, what's up with so and so? Like, we need to get this fixed. You know, and so. And I'm always there too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to find me.
Yeah. But
I tell people all the time, man, like, I'm not hard to find, man. I'm usually at the park, you know. And so
that's cool, man. And like, what got you into, like, my question is, like, what got you into like the politics side, and still keeping Jimmy, your true self, without going left or right, just staying grounded and being a wholehearted person, like.
I think a lot of it, the first time I ever went to a city council meeting, it was in 2013. And it was right after, I used to run an after school program in Mesa in Libby Lake. And there was a shooting that happened at the park, and it took the lives of a 13-year-old girl, a 14-year-old boy, and one of the kids at the program was shot 7 times. Another kid was shot, and rival gang came in. The park used to be really dark because they didn't have lights. And the kids were hanging out at a part of at a position in the park where it was like a popular place to hang out at. And rival gang came in, they ran into the park, started dumping, and they didn't realize that, like, until the bodies were on the ground, like, damn, you know. And I say that because I went to that murder hearing. I went to those murder trials. I was there. I was at the court, you know, for those, and so I got to hear like the testimonies of like you know, it was one of the, it was kids. It was kids killing kids, you know.
How do you take that?
That was the hardest thing I've ever probably been a part of in my career, because like I was at these murder trials, and the student that got shot the most survived. He got shot 7 times, and including in the head, and he survived. And you know, they asked him to testify, right? And when he testified, like, I remember I picked him up from his house, we went to court, and then he was supposed to testify in the morning. It was going a little bit longer, so then we had to go to take a break, so then we went and got food. And then, like, as soon as we got back to the courthouse, he was throwing up because he was so nervous, because he hadn't seen them since he had been shot. And when he gave his testimony, you know, he was just honest. He was like, listen, like, I don't know if it's them. Like, everyone had a mask, you know, and he was like, and he talked about everything. He's like, I got hit in the stomach first, and I fell, and I saw my friends fall, and then, you know, I saw when they ran up to us, and you can tell when they ran up that they realized, like, oh, damn, like, we thought, because none of them like gangbangers, you know what I mean? It was just like, it was dark. And he said, but I can't tell you if it's them. He was like, you know, like, everyone was wearing a mask. And he said, I'm just telling you, like, you know.
His emotion.
Yeah, the one thing that he did, that he was able to say was like, I know what they said though, like, and so he's like, I can share what they said, but I can't tell you what anybody looked like, right? But man, the hard part about it was everyone in that courtroom had lost. There wasn't like, you had these 4 kids that were facing murder charges, teenagers. By that time, some of them were like 18, 19 because they
Yeah.
had already been, locked up for a minute. So you had them facing these charges, and their family, everyone's Mexican, their
Yeah.
family, abuelas, like their
Everybody
parents,
lost.
their
Everybody
siblings,
lost. Yeah,
their
yeah.
siblings of those on trial are crying. And then you have the family of the victims, same, it looked like a mirror, bro, like clear reflection, and they're crying. It was like this. And then during the breaks, we all have to go out into a lobby together.
And you got to face each other.
And we're all there. And
It's like the double-headed serpent.
man, it was like a feeling I've never felt before, and this is coming from having like homies be killed. Like I've had homies killed. I've had some of my best friends commit murders and go through that process. But here we had a situation where it was like
Kids.
the 4 victims weren't gang affiliated, and the 4 alleged, they ended up being convicted, but the 4 murder suspects at the time were kids themselves,
I didn't know.
and so it was the saddest thing.
Everybody lost.
Everybody lost. And
Straight across the board.
Yeah, and I thank God that my student, who testified that day, he got shot 7 times, and after that he gave his life to Jesus. Like he's married now, has a family, he lives up north, he's a homeowner, and I think that I thank God that he survived, but at the same time it was the saddest thing I had ever been a part of. But I share that because the first time I ever went to city council was with the kids from that program, and they were mad. Like the friends of the kids that were killed were mad because that had been the second pair of murders that happened in 2 years at the park at the exact same spot. There had been 2 years prior to that, a teenage couple was killed. Rival gang members came in, same thing, same situation,
Yeah.
different gang, but they came into the park, shot, thinking that they were shooting someone from the neighborhood, and so you had 2 sets of kids within 2 years get killed at a place in the park that, it was a popular place to hang out, but it was dark. And I went to city council with the kids to ask for lights for the city council they didn't have it in the budget, but to ask council, like, hey, people are dying at this park.
Yeah.
Can we please, bring lights to the park? And, after that we were able to get lights, and then from there it was like, what else can we do for the community? And that's kind of like that was in 2013. And so from 2013 all the way to 2020, in my head I was thinking like, oh, okay, like city council funds these projects, and
Yeah.
and maybe this is a way that I can help the community. Yeah.
When you reflect on those families and you think what can we do different as a community to prevent that? What do you think the solution is?
You know what was sad about that? Like at least, and I couldn't tell you, like, when I was at that murder trial, whose mom or dad or abuela or siblings belonged to which kid, but I guess what I've seen, even in my 20 years working with youth and working with families, I think it's important for fathers and men to be a part of their families, and what that means so much to a youth.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
And a lot of the kids that we worked with, their dads weren't there.
But I feel like the court system sometimes just backdoors the dads,
Yeah,
most of the time.
yeah, and you have loving fathers who want to be a part of their kids'
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
But for whatever the reason, right? Whether it's the relationship between the mom and
That's
dad,
irrelevant.
right, or the
But
core,
it's the ego, the pride,
yeah.
and it's like the system just fucks the dads most of the time.
Or sometimes you got dads that are not in the right state of mind,
Yeah.
or locked up, or whatever the reason,
Yeah.
right?
But if they're trying,
Right. But
what if they're trying?
But I guess what I'm saying is for anyone that has the opportunity to be in their children's life, how important it is to be in their lives despite the relationship, or if they can keep the family together.
Yeah.
That to me is key.
What do you think would help, dog? Like, I'm asking you just as a
Yeah.
father as well, like,
Yeah.
as a community as being Hispanic,
Yeah.
we're used to certain ways, right? And as you being that's leader in the community, that you have a seat in the council, like what would be the solution for like the fathers to actually pick up a book? Let's acknowledge something different.
Yeah.
Like let's be different to our kids, right?
And that's more, that goes beyond counsel, man. Like counsel to me is like, it's a position, but like there's no position more important than being a father.
Right.
You know,
right.
there's no more, there's not, if you're married, there's not a position more important, if you're a man, to be a husband. Like
Right.
those are your most important roles,
Yeah.
right? And if we really want to impact our community, and if you are a husband and if you are a father, to be the best husband and father you can possibly be.
Yeah, but some men don't know,
Yeah, no.
and they're scared to ask.
Yeah, and I think
what would you think? What would you bring to the table? Like, how can we as a community help these men that have nowhere to go, or like they have no answers, but they want answers,
Yeah.
and they don't know how to ask? Like, what would be the solution for that?
I think-
so they can be better fathers.
Yeah, I mean, it's biblical, man. Like in the Bible, it says, feed my sheep, right? And so Peter's asking Jesus, like, Lord, like, what is it that you want me to do? He says, feed my sheep, right? And I think that for us as men that have that opportunity to speak into other men's lives, to be bold, but also to, you know, to see them and take the time to, it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to go reach 50 men to change.
Yeah.
But if you have one man in your life that you know that's going through it, or that you feel that like can use the encouragement and accountability, if you can impact that one, well, now you're helping his kids by pouring into him,
By
right?
far.
And I think the more that we can take the time to build each other up is important, man, because you can't do it alone, right?
No.
And who ends up feeling it the most is the kids.
Yeah.
And so, and there's other factors there too,
Yeah.
man. Like, you know, like we don't see. I remember when I was working at Libby, me and my wife had just got married, and her coworker, my wife was working at Maricosta College. She worked in the library, and one of her coworkers knew someone that was renting an Airbnb at a house like in Carlsbad, right? And we didn't have a lot of money, but they were willing to rent the Airbnb super cheap for a year until they moved their parents in.
Yeah.
And so somehow my wife, or it could have been one of her coworkers, I forget, but I just remember that we got blessed with the opportunity to move into a house off Tamarack.
Yeah.
Or not a house, the Airbnb in a house, right? And I remember I would leave Libby, Doug, and like my kids, like the story I would hear from my students, like, man, the cops raided our house last night, or parents, you know, like multiple families living together in a garage.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of situations, right? Kids already like, I don't know, freshman year already addicted to meth. Like,
Yeah.
I would leave there and drive to my Airbnb in Carlsbad, and it was like, it's like I drove into Beverly Hills. And it only took me 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
It was a different world. Like, those kids weren't dealing with the same challenges that the kids in Libby were, right? So even like a lot of my kids in my program had both parents, both loving parents, cared a lot, but then they still had to maneuver through the realities of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had kids that just wanted to play soccer, man. Like, they didn't want to gangbang, none of that.
Yeah.
But they got jumped coming home from school by a rival gang just from living in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Trying to play soccer.
And now the kid's upset and not knowing how to deal with that. And meanwhile, you know, a kid that's maybe 2 years older than him that hasn't figured out life is telling him what the solution is.
Yeah, join us.
And because the kid's so upset, he's like, you know what, those fools are lames.
Yeah.
Like, and so, but he's like, I'm not gonna bang. But then he gets pressed again a couple weeks later, and next thing you know, this kid that was playing soccer, skateboarding, now I see him with the hat, you know, and then it's like, okay, like, that's a reality. I had, you know, while I was there, that wasn't the only murder that I experienced since I was there, and one of my students was killed. I was fortunate enough to go to law school, and I remember I used to take the coaster to.
You went to law school?
Yeah, I went to law school. Yeah.
Hey.
So I was
a lawyer?
I'm not a practicing lawyer, but I have a law degree. And I remember I was on the coaster on my way to law school,
So you know Tito?
Yeah, Tito, yeah. He's my supervisor. He was my supervisor in Trinity Public Defender's Office. Yeah, but I remember I got a phone call from Oceanside Police Department like at 6 a.m. No, it's like 6:30. I was on the coaster going south in 2016, 2017, and a cop calls me and he's like, "Hey Jimmy, we're over here on Calle Estrella in Mesa," and he was like, "There was a shooting, and you know, someone died." And then we're just calling you. I think it's one of your students.
Oof.
And I was like, and I pretty much there's only two people I could think of, and so I called one of them because he was already 18, 19. He had just graduated from high school. We just had celebrated his graduation like 2 weeks prior, and so I called, and he was in his work uniform, and so two of my students worked at the same place. So immediately I called one of them. And he answered, and I was like, "Hey man, you okay?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm straight." And he's like, "I just got to work," because they both worked at the same place and they had to be at work by like 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, so and so at work already?" And he was like, "Nah, he's not here yet." And immediately, like, my heart just sank, right? And so then I called another one of my students who didn't live far, and I was like, without trying to make a scandal, because I didn't know, like, I'm not trying to like get people worried. So I called another one of my students, and I was like, "Hey man, like, I heard something happen on the street. Can you run over there?" And he literally took off running, and then he confirmed it. We had like a big group chat, and he was like, "Hey, so-and-so was killed." And man, it was just like, it was devastating, you know?
Yeah.
He had a job, he got shot. He got shot in his work uniform, like at 6:30 in the morning, and in front of his dad, because his dad was gonna take him to work. Like, he graduated from high school, he was off paperwork, like, doing everything that we had worked on for him to do, and he got shot because something had happened in the hood, and they were coming back to get back for it, and they rolled up on him, asked him where he was from, and he was, "I'm from here," and that was the last words that came out of his mouth. And one, we grow up in neighborhoods, or in because of how we look or who we are, we grow up with that, having to answer that question as little kids. Where are you from?
Yeah,
right?
Carlsbad.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah.
But still, like, the fact that we have to, like, when I was driving to Carlsbad with those little, like, when I was living in the Airbnb, those kids didn't have to grow up with, like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? But we have kids in our neighborhoods having to grow up with the fear of having to answer that question, or with, like, I'm going to answer this question regardless of where you're from or who you're with, right?
Yeah.
And not, like, for him, like, that was the last.
And it's natural. It's something so you don't even think about it.
Yeah, and
it
so,
just
like,
comes out.
he gets killed, and we had kids in the program that weren't gang affiliated, but because they had, that was either, like, one of their closest friends, or they saw him as family, or it was family. We had kids in the program, like, as soon as that happened, and this happens in every hood.
Yeah.
Like, someone gets killed, and it's almost like when the United States gets attacked by someone, people join the military.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in the neighborhood, you know? And we had kids, man, that weren't gang affiliated, and next thing you know, every day they're hanging out by the visual where the murder happened, little by little, and within 2 months, he's in. Because they're mad, they got this trauma, they don't know how to deal with it. And if we don't have people in the community that have experienced that trauma, have the lived experience of that trauma, and know how to funnel that trauma, and also understand that trauma or that fear, that anger can take you into a dark hole. And we don't have people in our community that are coming to be the light in the neighborhood to say, "Hey, I know you're hurting. I'm upset too.
Yeah.
But let me funnel that in a different direction that's not going to put you in the same situation."
Yeah.
Because I think that's a part of it too. And it's at times, we have parents, because in our communities, people are struggling to get by.
Yeah.
At times, it is hard for the parents, because I've been around parents that love their kids, man, and they're like, "Man, I've given them everything. Like, I love them. Like, like, we haven't brought any vices into the home, and, like, why is he still choosing this or she?" And it's like, man, but at the same time, like, both parents might be gone 12 hours a day, and they have to compete with the surrounding environment that's pulling, our kids in a different direction. And I'll share, man. So, like, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I got the news that one of my former students committed a murder, right? And it you know, it was like, it just kind of hit me. I was like, damn. Like, and mind you, this student now is like 30, you know? But I'll never forget his face from 2013. So it was 13 years ago. So he's like in his late 20s. But I'll never forget his face from 2013 after that murder happened in Libby Lake, when I told you the little girl got killed and the boy got killed. The day after that murder happened like around 8 p.m. The day after that murder, all of the kids came running to the program because the school didn't even talk to them about the murder. Like the school, the teachers, no one acted like it didn't happen. You have a whole neighborhood where you had every news reporting, every news station was there.
People grieving.
These kids go to school and you expect them to learn, but you don't even, you should have counselors there. Like, so they all come running to the program because they still don't know if they died yet. And so they show up to the program and they want to know who survived.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, oh, of course they already know who died and who survived. And I'm like, I had to tell them, like, I was honest with them, like, hey, this is what happened. And one of the kids, he was 14, 13 at the time. He looks at me like, so they're dead? And I remember I had to look at him straight in his face and be like, yeah, man. And, you know, we had a circle and I was there with them, but I remember he put his head down and you can see like the sorrow of that answer hit him. But then like something else, I saw it in his eyes, man, because I've seen it, you know, I've seen it growing up. That sorrow turned into anger like quick. And he wasn't gangbanging at the time or nothing. He was a skater, you know, but I just saw it and I knew, and I was like, Lord, like help me minister to him, Lord, like I'm praying for this little kid, because I saw that, like,
you know where it's going.
Yeah. And so that same kid now in his late 20s, you know, I got word that he got arrested for murder, and immediately my mind and my memory went back to that 13-year-old look on his face when his friends got killed at the park.
You know what I learned from one of my homeboys? He's actually doing life, right? He's helping inmates too, right? He's been, I think, on a level 4 for like 24 years already, right? And he talks a lot about trauma.
Yeah.
And he talked about the ricochet effect. The ricochet effect, like I say, somebody shoots a gun, right? And it might miss that person. It goes through the wall and hits another person, but then hit the person. Now, the victim's not the target, it's somebody else. Now the family, the mom, the dad, the sister, the daughter, the brother, the cousin, the friend. So now everybody gets touched by this incident of somebody's action due to the harm that was caused to that person, whether it's intentionally or not. It becomes a ricochet effect.
Yeah.
Because you're not just hurting that person, you hurt a whole community because you don't know their community. You know, you don't know who they have on their side, whether they had a daughter, whether they had a brother, they had a mom, whether they had a dad. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
That's the trauma we cause in our community by the stuff we grew up by, like the gangbanging, the gangs. And that's the trauma that a lot of people don't know how to deal with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like what you do as a man, like working in Logan, those type of communities here in Oceanside, what you're doing with the boxing program down there, like it can detach that ricochet effect and actually cure the cancer that we cause in our own people. Because we do that to ourselves. Because the way we think, the machismo, la raza, no, this is my street, no, that's your street, no, this is me.
You know what's the trick about that too, man? Like, just reflecting on like on my own family and how that played out. Like, me and my primos were all first generation.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have decades. Now we do, but we don't have like when we were all born here, or some of my primos weren't born here. Like, but we all grew up here, right? And when I say here, I mean North County.
Yeah.
And none of us had connections to any neighborhood prior to us.
Yeah.
All of my family, my dad's an orphan, so I don't have, the Figueroas is just me, my brother, my sister, my mom, my wife, and my daughters. Like, the Figueroas we're small. it's my mom's side that we're like deep. Like in Tri-City, we're like 40 deep, but like in North County, we're like over 100. And it's my mom's side of the family. Everyone on my mom's side of the family came from a small pueblo called Felipe Angeles in Zacatecas. That's where our roots are. And when I mean roots, I don't mean like ancestors. I mean like all of our parents and our abuelos and abuelas were born in Felipe Angeles, right? In Zacatecas. And my cousins and, you know, like we all gravitated towards whatever neighborhood our parents were able to afford to move us to.
Yeah.
So my cousins, I have cousins almost from every neighborhood in North County.
Yeah.
And there's no deep roots to it or nothing. It was just like, that's the area they grew up in. It just happened, right? Yeah. And so when I think about like us hurting each other and like, oh, that's my territory, or that's my street, that's my park, or like all of it, man, like at the end of the day, like when I think about how much pain and like you said, the ricochet that brought, because most of my family, man, we're all like 2-parent households. Like, our parents just came here struggling, like, and they came hustling.
Yeah.
And so like the opportunity to sit down and just like, have those long conversations at night, be a nurturing parent, it came by providing, and they didn't know how to help us navigate through what we were gonna experience here. But man, my tios and my tias are amazing. It was just that, like, I think a lot of it was, you had an 18-year-old teaching a 16-year-old about life. The 16-year-old's teaching the 12-year-old about life, and the 12-year-old is teaching the 8-year-old about life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's just like,
I do.
And it's like it's just misguided.
Yeah.
And I think what it takes now is having men like yourself and being able to come back into a community, and it doesn't even necessarily be your neighborhood or the neighborhood that you were close. It's just whatever men are around you or youth, and being able to give them guidance. And one thing that I've learned too, man, in doing this work, or even in my own life, that everyone has their own individual process. Like I can plant seeds, or someone can plant seeds in my life, and we all got free will, so we all have to go through our own individual process. I just like my thing was always like, I hope that like the seeds that I'm trying to plant don't come into fruition while you're sitting in a cell. You know what I mean? Or you're trying to overcome, like meth, or you're trying to overcome or you're battling an addiction. Like I hope that like these seeds take fruit before that happens. But if that does happen, it's not the end. You know what I mean? Like God's a God of second chances, and I truly believe that, man. Like redemption is real, and and grace is real. And I've seen some of my best friends are 2-strikers, and they've done 15, 20, 10 years or whatever, or they overcome, vices and addiction, and now they're having a huge impact on the community.
Yeah.
Or others have left and are amazing fathers and husbands, or sons or daughters, whatever, and they're having a different ricocheted impact on their family. They're breaking cycles. And I think to me it's like, it's not so much about having an impact on the masses, it's about having a huge impact on those closest to you, or whoever God puts in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the solution. At the end of the day, like it takes us, and when I mean us, I mean people that like have lived experiences or have that light to come into in dark places and speak light. But it takes time, bro. Like there's no magic pill to that. Like a lot of it is just listening. A lot of it is more just coming in and listening and being with someone when they're hurting. And
I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah.
When Jesus threw the fish and he got fish, and he fed everybody, they're like, damn, how did this man do that? I feel like we're the fishermen, right? So if we follow the word of the Bible, whatever it may be, whatever religion you believe in, but there's a higher power, right? And I feel like if you can structure the voice of something bigger than you and give that voice to a community where it's going to feed on life, you're not God, but we're disciples, right? So it's like, why not do that, right?
Yeah.
We're not giving them fish. The fish, like, here's a fish, eat it. No, the fish is the nutrition of life, the wisdom, the nurturing, the direction, the purpose, the the stableness that people don't have, you know. And I feel like people like fall off from that, man, when everything's like going good, right? But
Yeah.
everybody gets lost. What does God say? You can come to me. My doors are always open. So it's like I feel like everybody has a little bit of disciple in them. It's just how we just spread that word, you know.
Yeah, man. And God didn't use like, he didn't use like the most educated people. Like he was,
Didn't.
he was,
All his main dudes were
yeah,
killers.
Yeah, man. And so it's like you have to like, he was using like fishermen. He was
Yeah.
using people that just like, it was about a willing heart.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, like being in the community, I never like thought that I would be doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, you couldn't tell me nothing. And then like, I didn't have the education. And I think part of it was when I started seeing like my homies get locked up or like just trying to figure out what I was gonna do in my life. I said, okay, like if education is gonna help me provide resources and opportunities, then I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to be successful in it. But I always struggled in it. You know what I mean?
But at what point you were like, man, this is the route I want to take? Like, how old were you when you said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do?
I was 19, man. I was like at 17 is like when a lot of my friends started like catching real cases.
Yeah.
Or when like, I always tell people like when you're like 12, 13, it's just exciting. It's just fun. You know what I mean? It's just fun.
Yeah.
And like even like getting like, I don't know, all of it, running from the police, all of it, like the whole thing is fun. You know what I mean? Even like 14, 15, but by the time I was like 16, people were starting to get stabbed. Like you're not getting jumped no more. People are getting stabbed.
Yeah.
If you got a couple older homies, they're catching county cases, So
Yeah.
it was like, but when I was 17 is when people started getting killed.
Yeah.
Or not like, and when I mean killed, like even growing up, I would hear about like, oh damn, so-and-so got killed. And it was like someone I knew,
Yeah.
but it wasn't someone in my inner circle.
Yeah.
Like it really started impacting my inner circle like at 17. And when I was 18, 19, man, I got saved, gave my life to God. And like within a matter of like, it felt like overnight, everyone went away. Everyone went to prison. People were catching like serious long cases. But like within my inner circle, like 18, 19, like my best friend got shot 5 times. And I was with him like, I don't know, man, like just right before he got shot, like all day he was calling me. He was like, hey man, when I get off of work, come pick me up. We'll go to the gym. They had just built a 24-hour fitness down in the valley, and he used to work at the Tire Lube and Express at Walmart. And so I was like, yeah, I'll come swoop you up. I used to drive an Astro van. And so with the tape player, had all eyes on me. And the tape player, yeah. So I remember I came to swoop him up. And when I came out, they had an 18-pack, and they were like, oh, we're just going to post up, dog. Just come through. I was like, what happened? All day you wanted to go to the gym. And like, any other day I would have. And for whatever reason, man, it was like something told me like, hey, man, just, you're good, right? And I was like, you know what, dog, I'm chill. I'm going to go to the gym. And they were like, and they didn't trip. They were just like, all right, then, whatever. And sure enough, man, like while they were there, he ended up, rival gang members came in and he ended up getting shot 5 times.
Damn.
And I got the call immediately, and I remember driving to the hospital in La Jolla thinking that he was dead because they told me like he got airlifted.
Yeah.
And the helicopter landed at Pacifica Elementary, which now is like like townhomes, but it was down in the Deep Valley. And I'm thinking he's dead. I get to the hospital, he survived, and but it seemed like, boom, like next month there's another shooting, and one of my homies got killed, and then, one of my homies is doing something, and then like I had one of my best friends, he committed a murder down in Vista at the park across the street from what used to be Lincoln Middle School. Now it's like the Magnet School or something like that, right by City Hall. There's a park right there.
Yeah.
And he got into it with someone from my cousin's hood, and man, shot him in the chest and then shot him in the head. And they found him at an apartment complex like around the corner, because it happened in broad daylight, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Damn.
And they found him like smoking a sherm stick, like on the apartment steps, like nothing. Like he was just smoked out by that time, you know, and it was like, it was all over the news and all that because it happened like broad daylight in the park. And moments like that, that just kind of like,
Yeah.
to me, it seemed like everything was like just falling apart, you know, and I was like, man, I gotta make changes, you know, and not that I was like ever in a position to like how they were, but it was still like, when I mean like, those were like my best friends from childhood, like those are the people I was always with, those are like my road dogs. And yeah, man, I just decided, I said, you know what, I want to help others. Like that was like I always felt like I was going to start a gang ministry or something like that. Like I was going to be, I was going to be doing something, working with people like, and I was never an active gang member or nothing, but my heart was always like, in that
group around.
Yeah. And so, and then, no, man, education became an avenue. And then,
How important is education?
It's huge, man, because like, you don't know what you don't know, man. And I think that like, at least you don't need education to impact someone's heart. You know, you don't need impact. You don't need education to plant seeds of hope. You don't need education for that.
Yeah.
Education plays a role when you want to change systems or you want to create something that's sustainable, that's going to require the ability to navigate spaces, right? And you can do that because we do that growing up anyway, right? But the education allowed me to like have my foot in the door into meetings that I would have never had. But it also gave me it also empowered me, man, because here now I'm like, okay, I have this experience and now I got this experience. And so, you know, it became very empowering where it's allowed me to like start the resilience program and work with probation. You know, they trusted me to do that, and that wouldn't have happened unless I didn't have my law degree, because I met them when I was in law school.
Okay.
And it gave me the opportunity to, you know, launch other programs or help other people get established. And so it makes a difference for the community, man, because it does provide an opportunity for you to provide for your family, you know, help others, but also it helps the opportunity for others in the community to come up. And it really, man, like pursuing education, to me, I just looked at it like it was a job. You know, it was like, okay, I got to go to work. You know what I mean? That's how I look. But it was a struggle, man, because it's like from like 7th grade to like, from the time I was 12 to the time I was like 17, or even like 11, I didn't really go to school. So it was kind of like trying to learn all this as an adult.
Yeah.
But it was like, what's the alternative? At that point in my life, I was like, there is no alternative.
Yeah.
So.
And you're a religious man.
Yeah.
You're a religious man, and how important is that in your life?
So everything, man, changed my life. And I wouldn't say like religious, like I would say like I have a relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
And so like I think that it was the turning point for me, man, because I can't. What has happened in my life after I made the decision to surrender my life to Jesus Christ changed everything.
Yeah.
And so like everything that's happened since then, I give all credit to God, because it's like, and all glory to God, man, because before accepting Jesus Christ into my life, I struggled in school. Like I couldn't figure things out. Like I was in situations that were really like depressing, you know?
Yeah.
And the moment I made that decision, it wasn't like things were easy. Things were still hard. It wasn't like school became easy, but all of a sudden I had this hope.
Yeah.
And then God would always bring someone in my life to help me navigate through the challenges, and then doors would open, you know? And I think for me, it is the foundation of who I am when I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
When I'm in neighborhoods or I'm in communities, like I don't have to take out my Bible and read scriptures to you. You know what I mean? I don't got to preach that. I think for me, it's when I wake up in the morning and I read the Word, it fills my cup to be able to step in spaces where people feel hopeless, and I can just show God's love through the light and the hope that He's given me, and love on others.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean that I don't care what other people's religions are. I don't care what other people's beliefs are. I don't care if they don't believe in God, or if they hate God, or if, you know, I don't care about any of that, man. Like for me, it's like I'm called to love, and I'm going to love others, and I'm going to be there for others. And whether someone agrees with my views or not, like it's not like I don't see it as like, oh, you have to believe what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't rock like that. I've never rocked like that. You know, for me, it's like if someone comes to Jesus because they were like, man, that dude Jimmy like loved on me, and that had a big impact on me, or the way that he walked with me alongside this challenge. Or I got locked up, I got busted. This dude came and saw me while I was busted. He went to my court cases, and then when I was locked up, he was writing me, and then he would answer my calls, and then when I came home, he picked me up, helped me get a job. And man, not once did this dude tell me like, hey, you gotta believe this, but he just did life with me.
Yeah.
I think for me, like that's how I've always operated, because I didn't get saved because someone told me like, oh, like if you don't accept Jesus, you're gonna go to hell or something like that. Right? I got saved, man, because the two people that asked me to go to church with them ended up getting put onto the set, went to prison, and they just asked me to go to church with them back when we were teenagers, and I went, and after they went everything they went through, like that was the only place I was finding hope. Yeah. You know, and I think that has sustained me, and it's become the fruit of how I operate, and it's also like it's what keeps me going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because if without it, like I don't think I wouldn't have done anything that I've done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
he's a big man.
What's that?
God's a big man.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
he's a big man. He's a good father. Yeah. You know, I'm a big believer, and when you talk to these kids, man, especially with probation, do you like encourage them to like fall into the man up above, or like what's your structure with the kids?
Yeah, man, I that's never been like I don't want to say never, but it's I usually don't, you know, it's not like I've never like, not never, but like that usually I listen a lot, you know, like if I'm working with someone, or I have a relationship with someone, it's like that's not something that I'm navigating towards. I think that I just listen a lot. I try to be with them as they're going through their challenges. Yeah. And you know, if someone asks me, like if a kid were asking me, like, man, how'd you change? Yeah. Of course I'm gonna share my testimony. Yeah. But I never like tell someone like, oh, this is what you need to do, right? Like, because I don't believe in that. Yeah, I don't believe that. You know, for me, it's just more of like, man, I'm gonna walk alongside you. There's kids, man, that I've been with for the past 20 years, and they're not believers. They don't want to be believers. Yeah. They know I'm a believer, but man, that's like a little brother to me. Yeah. And I'm like, for me, it's like, no, I'm focused on you. Like, now, like, there's certain kids, man, that I've seen go through it, and now they're adults. And there's times where I just, you know, I share the gospel with them, you know, but it just depends, man. Like do you
have a structure, like when you talk to the kids, or you just kind of like feel them out, see what they're going through?
We're all different, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like one of the kids that I'm closest to, and he's not a kid no more. He's like, he's like in his mid-20s, late 20s, but I've known him since he was a little kid. Yeah. His family and I are really close. Yeah. And we were really close when he was a little kid. Yeah. And I hadn't seen him, you know, years go by. We start the resilience program, and they give us I still got the first 6, 7 kids that they gave us, like, hey, these are the 7 kids. And he was on that list, and he had a different last name than his family because of his biological dad. And so I didn't recognize the name at first. And so we go to the halls, and as we're getting ready to go to the halls, I start putting 2 and 2 together. Well, myself and the 2 other mentors that came with me all know his family. But we all didn't know that we knew different parts of his family. Yeah. But he knew that we knew his family. It's crazy, bro. He comes out of, like, when we were part of Resilience, we were able to pull anyone out of their cell to come meet with us. And so, not us physically, but we told the guard to bring him out. And so he walks in the room, and the first thing he says, he's like, what's up, man? Is this the program Resilience? Because we had just started. Yeah. And I was like, and we were like, yeah. He was like, damn, dog. He said, I saw the tattoos. Not myself, but the other mentor. Yeah. He said, I thought I was about to get checked or something. He was like, I didn't know what this was. Yeah. And he was like, hey, no, but for real. He's like, I kid you not. He's 15 at the time. First words he says to us, I heard that you guys know my family, or I know his dad had been killed. He said, I heard some of you guys know my dad, and he knew that I was close with like a big part of his family. And he was like, man, that's what's up, man. He was like, I appreciate that. He was like, man, I want to be a part of this program. He said, but if this is one of those programs that, I'm a part of for 6 months and I graduate and then you guys are done with me, he said, man, I appreciate you guys for coming, but please don't ever come back.
Oh, shit.
First thing he ever said to us. And mind you, this kid, His dad was killed when he was 7. His dad was killed by the police in a high-speed chase. His biological mom was being pimped by his biological dad. His adopted mom married into a family that I'm very close with, but they had their own like traumas and challenges, and he was born into all that, you know. And you know, he's someone that is like, you have some kids. I've been around some kids that like if they're by themselves and someone bangs on them, is that where they're from? They're like, oh, I don't bang. He wasn't one of those. He was one of those like you could be 5 deep, and he's gonna be like, yeah, get out the car. Like
he's gonna stick with it.
Yeah. Like if y'all are gonna jump me, you guys are gonna. This ain't gonna be an easy jump for you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was one of those. You know, and a lot of that is because he had so much hurt and pain in him, and but man, like he comes home from juvenile hall, and he had told us from the beginning, like, man, like I'm addicted to meth, you know. And so he comes from juvenile hall, he's got ankle monitor on, and he calls me at 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah. And
he's like, hey man, I just want to let you know that like I appreciate you, like, you know, coming to visit me. I appreciate everything that the program is planning to do for me, and I even just out of respect, because I know you're cool with my family, I'm just calling to let you know that I'm about to cut my ankle monitor off, and I'm just gonna go on the run, dog. He said, I can't do this. And I was like, hey, okay. I was like, okay, man, I hear you. I said, but just wait like 10 minutes, I'm coming over right now. And he was like, 10 minutes, homie. And I got him. My wife's like, where you going? You know what I mean? It's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mind you, I've already graduated from law school.
Yeah.
Like, my wife's like, I thought you were going to be a lawyer. Like, what
are
you
like? What are you doing?
Yeah. And
you gonna go run the streets for a little bit or what?
And I literally, I called one of the other mentors. I said, yo, this is what's going on. I'm about to go over there. He said, I'm on my way too.
Yeah.
And the other mentor that came, you know, he, two-striker, like, he had battled, like, heroin addiction, like, and all of that. So we pull up to his spot, and his sister sees me. She's like, Jimmy, what are you doing here? And mind you, I've known his sister since she was like, you know, I've known the whole family.
Yeah.
And he comes out, and man, we stayed there until like 2 a.m, you know, and he just kind of.
Did you at least eat?
Nah, man, we just stayed there, and he cried about things he had never shared with people. You know, he was just dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
And he didn't cut his ankle monitor. You know, he ended up doing all kinds of. He ended up getting locked up again and doing all kinds of.
That's a win, though.
But that was a win that night.
It was a win.
And me and him to this day are like, you know, to this day he's like, man, you guys are my family.
That's all that matters.
He's not gangbanging no more. He has like 2 jobs.
That's cool.
He's sober. Like, he's someone that ended up giving his life to the Lord.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen because like I showed up at his house at 10 p.m. with the Bible, you know what I mean? I showed up to his house and just listened.
Yeah.
And over the years, you know, he would say, hey man, let me roll church with you one of these Sundays.
Yeah.
And so I'd pick him up, and he'd be with my family, and, you know, and he went through a lot, man. He ended up getting stabbed, all kinds of stuff, bro. Like, you know, it wasn't an overnight thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It took steps.
And I was willing to be patient whether he got locked up. There was one time, man, he got locked up, and I told the judge, like, hey man, can you keep him for another month? And because it's juvenile hall, it wasn't like county. Yeah. And it was because he had gone on like on a sick one. You know how they say like I was on a sick. This fool went on a sick one like for like 3 weeks straight, like just on one, right? And he looked bad. Yeah. You know, and I was like, he's gonna end up dying out here. Like, he's got to stay in there to like and he had committed so much like dirt during that like that run that he went on, that there was going to be a lot of repercussions from that. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, bro, like, everything you just did,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It did. Like, he ended up like coming home, he got stabbed, like all kinds of stuff, right? But I remember I didn't tell the judge, I told the public defender, I was like, man, I think he needs to stay in for like 3 more weeks. Like, mind you, it's juvie, so I'm not saying like, and they were like, well, we can. I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to make it out here. And sure enough, like a week after that, he got stabbed. And he almost died, you know, punctured lung. A week later, I'm at the hospital. 1 in the morning, La Jolla, thinking like, is he going to make it? Yeah. You know, because I knew what he had, based on his run that he went on, I was like, this is going to have repercussions. Yeah. You know, and it did. But I say all that to say, man, that he's someone that like, you know, and I still got like the pictures of his punctured lung in my phone, because sometimes I'll bring it up, I was like, oh, like, but man, like, God saved his life, and you know, he's someone that's changed his life. But then I got other kids, man, that like, I just walk alongside people, bro. Like,
And
That's my system. It's just like I listen, I walk alongside them, and no, I don't judge, man.
do you, when you come home,
Yeah.
you got the councilman, you got
Yeah.
the community server, the servant man.
Yeah.
When you come home, you're a dad, you're a
Yeah.
husband,
Yeah.
you got 2 little girls.
Yeah.
Like, do you separate?
It was hard for a long time, and mind you, I haven't been like doing Monday through Friday work like that at that
Yeah.
level. Like, mind you, I run a community center, so I'm still
Yeah.
like very much like involved. But it's like it took time, man. It took time because it was like I'd come home and like there was times like the day that I got the call at 6 a.m. that my student had got murdered. Like, yeah, man, I had to come home to that. You know what I mean? Or like hearing that one of my kids committed a murder, or coming home from the hospital, or like literally having a kid like give you like meth and saying get rid of it, you know, or all kinds of stuff, dog. Like you know what I mean? Like, or coming back from the juvenile hall, or like the worst, man, as a young dad with 2 girls, like having mentees that are female students, part of the program, and then hearing about like what got them into the lifestyle that they're in. And there was a lot of abuse amongst all of the kids, whether it was boys or girls. There was a lot of abuse that happened in their lives when they were little, you know.
Yeah.
And it's that trauma. And I remember one time I was with like 3 kids, and they were all like battling with like escante, you know what I mean? Like that was like their main thing, like.
Yeah.
And they would use, but never. And they were homies, you know. But one I don't know how it came out. We were in a circle one time, and they had all experienced similar traumas as kids, and they had been crimies, everything. They didn't know that about each other.
Yeah.
You know, so they're sitting here hurting themselves, hurting others,
Yeah.
using, having similar traumas.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that they found out that they had experienced. But a lot of it was a lot of kids that had been hurt, man. And not being able to funnel that.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some of like the most active gang members like break down and cry and share about when they were abused at 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
old. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sharing it for the first time at 18, 19,
Yeah.
17, and it's just coming out, and they're just weeping.
Damn.
You know, and it's like you never know what someone's going through.
No.
You know,
No.
and I think that's why like I believe in second chances, and you never know, man. And so like I had a student one time call me right around the corner from this building. He had caught 10 years, and I was with him like a week before he got picked up on that on what put him away for 10 years. And mind you, what he had already committed those crimes. And I remember I was having a conversation with him. I was like, bro, like if I'm hearing about this, like you're burnt, bro. Like you're in a situation where it's like,
You need to do some time.
like the fact that like I've heard about some of this stuff. I said, man, like, you know, I would recommend you lay low as much as you can. And you know, he ended up getting picked up like a week later or whatever. And he got 10 years. And I remember he called me one time, and he was like, bro, when I come home, man, I'm gonna do good, bro. And mind you, like everyone says that, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, man, like we're in a whole room full of mentors that have done that.
Yeah.
So there's proof that you can.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and so like I was like, yeah, man, I was just encouraging him. I told him, I was like, bro, when you come home, you're gonna be 28. You know how much like action you have at life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, and I said, if you do what you're supposed to do in there, you're gonna come out at 24.
Yeah.
So like you got action, bro. Like, you know, just like have hope and you know, do what you can while you're in there. But at the same time, like when you come home, bro, like we're still gonna be here.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a form of stability that you can at least lean on when things get hard.
Yeah.
You know.
I have a question, like if, like for the kids that are on probation, like, what's your system like when they get out? Like, what are you trying to do for them? Like, not just the boxing program, but like, is there a system you have or you carry that you carry?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the kid's age, man. And also, I think the hard part is too, like, depends what home they're going to go back into. You know, because I've seen kids where they come back home and the home is the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, damn, if I can just get you out of this house.
Yeah.
Like, but it's
That's
like,
a big deal.
Yeah, but like, forget like going to the park. Like, if
Yeah.
the temptation's in the living room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
damn. Or the thing that's setting you off is in the room next door.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard, you know, and also depending on where the kid lives sometimes, man. I tell people all the time, I said, this kid can spend 20 hours with me, but if I drop him off at 2 in the morning and then at 2:30 someone comes knocking on the window.
Yeah.
It's like it's tough, you know. But then I think a lot of it has always been like, how can I occupy, if there's 24 hours in a day, how can I occupy 24? How can I, one, surround this kid with more mentors?
Yeah.
Right? Because like one program can't do it alone, one mentor can't do it alone. But if we surround him with a community of people that he can call, because you may call me and I might be with my daughters and I may not answer.
Yeah.
And then I don't want you to be like, well, F it, I'm gonna, you know, go do X, Y, and Z. But if they know, like, okay, Jimmy didn't pick up, let me hit up Cisco real quick.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Cisco didn't pick up, okay, Jordan picked up.
Yeah.
And Jordan's like, all right, man, I'm gonna come swoop you up, let's go out to eat or something.
Yeah.
And that's all you needed.
Yeah.
Then if I can surround you with the community, man, like that's a system that we
Yeah.
need to do. It's not about one mentor or one program. We gotta do everything we possibly can to surround our youth, especially those coming home, with the community of people that they can lean on, right? So that's one. And then two, I never told a kid to stop gangbanging. Like, how am I gonna tell someone who's like, man, that's active, to be like, oh, don't be a gang member no more?
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Their
yeah.
identities in that, right? And so it's like, I may be thinking that, but I gotta be realistic too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's just gonna
yeah.
turn them off. So like for me, I've never looked at it like stop gangbanging. I've always looked at it like, hey, there's 24 hours in the day. How can I occupy those 24 hours to do stuff productive as much as possible? So if you're 18, okay, like you don't have your diploma yet, let's get you into an adult high school diploma program, right? Maybe that's just 2-3 hours. If I can get you a job though, a job that's gonna offer you overtime, now that's 12, 13 hours of your day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, and now you have to be at work tomorrow, like, and then you can spend 4 hours with me, that's 16 hours. So, you know, maybe you're like, man, I'm just gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you go to bed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But now if I've occupied your hours with 16 hours of productivity, and then you start making money, like, well, over time, you're gonna have less time to hang out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna have less time to kick it or use or whatever, or get caught up slipping, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And what I've seen happen over time is that it's like, okay, man, I don't really got time for that. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you're still not affiliated. You're just not active no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're still from the hood, but you're just not active. And
Yeah.
and then, you know, God willing, hopefully over time, like I've seen people just little by little gravitate out of it. You know, but then there's also a healing process to it. Like
There has to be.
yeah, whatever gravitated you towards that lifestyle, there has to be a process where you can share about the traumas.
You have to.
And be able to heal alongside because if not, you cannot gangbang and still have these habits of like someone pisses you off.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're jumping out of the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you're taking it out on
Your partner.
your partner, your kids, or
Yeah.
your loved ones, and it doesn't. I just don't mean physical. It could be just verbal, you know,
Yeah.
like, or you disconnect, because that's another thing people do too. It's
Fuck
like
yeah.
it's
Fuck
okay.
yeah.
I'm not going to be physical. I'm not going to be verbal, but I'm just going to shut down.
Yeah.
You
Hell
know,
yeah.
and so that's destructive too.
Yeah, it is.
And so there's a healing process to it, but I think that there's a healing component, occupying your time with productivity, and you know, having I call it an ecosystem, a community around people. So like if I have someone coming home, immediately I'm already on the phone before they come home, and I'm like, hey man, when you come home, connect you with my boy Cisco, man, he's got a workout program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can connect with him in the mornings, get your workout in. And then I'm gonna connect you with so-and-so. They work at Maricosta College.
Yeah.
And they're gonna set you up with financial aid because there's money in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They're gonna get you 1 or 2 classes. And then my homie's a manager over here. And so
Yeah.
he's got a job for you.
Yeah.
So now I've connected you with different people that are gonna speak life into you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, I can't do that for everyone that comes home, but for those that I have a relationship with, I can do that for, you know. And so the kids that were coming home from Resilience, we were fortunate enough to get the list of the kids that were coming home, you know, or the kids on paperwork. And at the same time, though, I can give you all that, and you may just not be ready.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they gotta work for it too.
Yeah, you may not be ready.
Yeah.
And you might be like, hey, man, that's, you know, like, and it happens, man. And then the thing is, like, I don't mind that. I get it. So I can provide and set all the goal, you know, spend a lot of hours trying to get that set up for you. You may come home and catch a case immediately and go back, you know? And then I'm just like, all right, man, when you come home, we're going to try it again.
Yeah, you know what? That's amazing, man. And I admire that because I feel like that gap right there, a lot of people don't do, you know, the patience.
Yeah.
That's patience, dog.
Yeah, it's a lot of patience, yeah.
And like for myself, I did a lot of therapy, counseling, NAA, meetings, therapy. And it took me a long time, dog, just to grasp the self, the inner healing of oneself, right? And I don't speak too much about it, but the people that know, they can see it, you know what I'm saying? Like a man that's been through the mud, like, or a child that's been through the mud, they can't hide it. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their eyes. Just the way they communicate, the way they move, like everything about them is either defensive, you know what I'm saying? Like there's always a guard up, you know what I'm saying? And it's like breaking that guard and teaching these kids, the youth, like what you do, that there's something bigger outside of the neighborhood, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's where like I learned that through community showers, you know, like just watching these older humans that are a little lost, right? And I was like, damn, I was right with them, right? And it's not because I was homeless, it was because of an addiction. So everybody has their own little lost trauma. I call it the lost trauma, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how are we gonna heal that? But it's at your time, you know what I'm saying? It's like at your willingness. Like when you're ready, you're gonna ask for help. And what you offer the community is a helping hand, man, and that's big, homie. And I respect that all the way across the board, you know? And I feel like that's contagious in a positive way because somebody might not know it, but it's gonna rub off on them, you know what I'm saying? Like when they meet you, like, man, I wanna be like that dude one day. It might be a fucking little 5-year-old kid, dog.
Yeah.
And he sees how you move, the way you talk, the way you just, your standard as a man, dog, as a person, as a human being, shit. You might not see it, but 10 years down the line, that's supposed to be 15. You're like, damn, I picked it up from that man right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think we already do that. I mean, when we were kids, who we look up to in the neighborhood that was like, damn, I want to be like that.
Homies.
Right. And it was like, that's what we knew.
A big chest, big old rocha, like you're like, damn, if we just got out the joint or what?
Man, I saw like like maybe last month I was at John Landis Park and I got rolled on by, not rolled on, but I had one of the little homies in the neighborhood comes up to me and he was like, and I can tell that I thought he was like houseless at first because he was it was like 10 a.m. He didn't look, he looked like he had been out like on the streets for a minute. He had a 40 in his hand and he's walking towards me and he like kind of like gives me a head nod. And he's like, what's up, dog? And then I was like, oh, what's up? And I was like, I introduced myself. And he was like, I know who you are. And then, he was like, that's what's up. You're a council member, right? I was like, yeah. And he was faded, And then he told me who he was. And he told me he told me what his hood name was, right? And I was like, oh, okay. I was just very respectful. I was like, oh, man, pleasure to meet you. And then he told me, he's like, oh, you know my mom. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, and then he told me who his mom was. I was like, oh, man, your mom's like an amazing lady. Like she's very loving. And he was like, oh, that's what's up. And I was like, she's good people. He's like, I'm good people. And I was like, and I can tell where, I could just tell you. And I looked at the bottle, it was almost empty, And I was like, and he was like, yeah, man, hit me up. And I was like, yeah, man, I got you.
He threw it at you.
And then I told him, I was like, I'm always here. And he's like, I'm always here. And I was like, all right, man. But it was having like understanding, like for him, I'm in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then for me, I'm thinking, you're in my neighborhood.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not having the pride to be like,
yeah.
I just understood it, and it's deeper than that, right? It's about his heart, because at that moment, it was like, man, I felt bad,
Yeah.
Because it was like, had I not known who his mom was, I would have thought he was homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they live in the neighborhood, so like I know he's not homeless, but he just looked bad, man, and for it to be like, it was like 10 a.m. on a weekday, like, and for him to be in that condition.
Yeah.
And so this is a true story, man. This morning, I was at John Landis Park, and it was today's National Day of Prayer, and so like there's some pastors in the neighborhood that wanted to get together to pray over the park and pray over the city. And so I got out of my car, and I see his mom, and this walking in the same direction that he had like rolled up on me.
Yeah.
And so I see his mom, and his mom's like, oh, hey, how are you doing? You know what I mean? ¿Cómo está? And everything. And so I talked to her for a little bit, and then I was like, hey, I met your oldest son. And then, like, immediately she looked at me and she kind of put her head down, and then she was like, "Estaba borracho?" And I was like, yeah. I was like, but it's okay. I said, I talked to him for a little bit, and she's like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, he gets a certain way when he drinks. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I said, we had a great conversation, and she was like, oh, okay. But she was like already immediately apologizing.
She knew,
right? And and I felt in her heart like, man, that's a weight that she's carrying, because I can tell like.
Yeah.
And so I walk away, she walks away, and then I call her. I call her back, and I was like, hey, what's his name? You know. And then she told me, and I was okay. I was like, hey, next time I see him, I was like, you know, I'm gonna do everything I can to just like keep talking to him.
Yeah.
But then I went into that prayer and just, you know, prayed for him specifically. I was praying for him because he was heavy on my heart. But even things like that, because it was like, okay, like next time I see him, it's that ricochet effect.
Yeah.
You know, because it's impact. I can see like the
Yeah.
moment she started apologizing, I didn't even say anything.
It's the trauma.
And he was respectful as
Yeah.
much as he could be respectful being like intoxicated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he came off like, he was very respectful.
Yeah.
But he was just under the influence, you know? But it's like, okay, like, can God provide me words to help penetrate his heart? Or maybe by me sharing this story, maybe you somehow, God sets it up and you run into him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's like,
yeah.
I just think about that, man. At the end of the day, at the core principle, man, it's like just seeing people for who they are, each individual person.
Yeah.
And having the patience. Because it may take 15 years, it may take 20 years.
Yeah.
You know?
That's big, and I want to thank you, man, for sitting down with Tinman Podcast.
Yeah, man.
And it's a pleasure to actually speak with you and hear about your life, what you do, what you're doing, and your views on what you have going on, you know what I'm saying, especially in the community. And is there any last words you'd like to say to the audience about, like, the community, what you got going on, what you want to do, what you want in the future? Like, is there anything you would like to say?
Man, if I could just encourage people to see people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, you know, we're here at, you know, at the Humanity Showers headquarters, I guess
Yeah.
you call it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think no one does it better than Jordan, man. He sees people, you know,
Yeah.
people that are not seen. And I think that whatever your heart pulls you towards, you know, sometimes people have a heart for serving the homeless. People have a heart for serving those that are formerly incarcerated, or those that have been impacted by domestic violence or substance abuse, whatever that is, whatever you feel that that God has, you know, as tugging at your heart, you know, to see them, spend time with them, and it's not about the message you have, you know, it's about really spending time with people, seeing them, and I think as far as for my future, man, I think the greatest impact I can ever have is like trying to penetrate someone's heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the role as a council member, I'm grateful to have that position. I'm grateful to have the positions I've had like in nonprofit. But the thing at the end of the day that I'm most like, I guess proud, or that I hold most deep to my heart, is like being able to have people right now that are good fathers or active, you know, members of the community. They're not out here like getting fame or notoriety, but they're no longer gangbanging. They're no longer using, you know what I mean? And they're just living healthy, normal lives. And to see them living life, to me, like, is the thing that I'm most, like, that I cherish the most, because I played a small part in that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, I was just obedient to what God asked me to do, or called me to do, you know?
A true disciple.
Yeah, man.
Man, thank you again. We want to close the Tinman Podcast. Jimmy, thank you for sitting with us. Jordan, the director, editor, everything, the platform. And Jimmy, you're a great man, and please follow this man, support this man. If you have any questions about helping the community, get at this man. He does a lot, man, not just in Oceanside, he does in Logan. He has a boxing program as well, and I think that's amazing.